Melody the mermaid was endowed from birth with a magical voice that could tame the most violent storms and cheer everyone who heard it. She resided in the ocean's depths, where the only sounds that reverberated through the enormous expanses were those of nature and the merest rays of sunlight. All the ocean's creatures, large and little, were enthralled with Melody's ethereal songs. Melody had a responsibility to utilize her voice as an ocean guardian to safeguard and lead all marine life on a regular basis. Her exquisite tunes reverberated over the wide oceans, soothing even the most choppy waves and keeping the marine life from being lost in the currents. When the storms raged, Melody's songs were so mesmerizing that even the humans on the shore could hear them. Few animals ventured to the remote area of the ocean where Melody resided. She loved being by herself in the vast ocean, where she could write songs and ponder the secrets of the deep. She only spoke to people once during storms, when her voice could be heard around the coast, and the lighthouse keepers were astonished to hear it. Melody's voice gained popularity among lighthouse keepers, who began to take notice of her. They frequently questioned the identity of the singer and the source of the sound, but they were never able to identify Melody's voice source. Melody persisted in singing her songs deep into the ocean, bringing happiness and tranquility to both the marine life and the people by the shore. Her voice was one of the most exquisite and alluring sounds in the world, and it brought comfort to everyone who heard it. Melody adored her simple life by the sea, even though it was simple. She loved to sing and had a gift for song. Her singing lifted her spirits because her voice was a representation of her feelings. She was aware that it was her responsibility as the ocean's protector to use her voice to restore calm to the water, and she would continue to do so indefinitely. James was a lonely man who took care of the tall lighthouse on a rough beach. The most of his days were spent seeing the waves crashing against the cliffs, since he had always been enthralled with the sea. The sound of the waves slamming on the shore and the seagulls circling the lighthouse were his only company. James was taking care of the lighthouse one day when he heard a very lovely sound that attracted his attention. He was enthralled with the melody, which he had never heard before. He remained motionless while he listened carefully to the sound, attempting to pinpoint its source. He noticed someone swimming elegantly in the moonlit waves as he got closer to the water's edge. It was a mermaid that James had seen, and he was in amazement. Watching her swim closer to the coast where he stood, he could not believe what he was seeing. James was filled with wonder when the mermaid surfaced from the ocean. He had never seen a more exquisite creature than she was. Her eyes shone like diamonds, and her beautiful hair cascaded down her back. As she changed her tail into shimmering legs, James was astounded to see her. Melody the mermaid had revealed herself to James, defying the long-standing mermaid taboo of concealment. She chose to confide in him with her secret after perceiving his sincere kindness. James was stunned in that he had to keep his encounter with the mermaid to himself. James and Melody became friends after that, and he would frequently talk to her when she was singing. Her voice, which could tame even the most violent storms, captivated him. James would spend hours conversing with Melody while she revealed her secrets to him. The enigmatic mermaid who had exposed herself to James captivated him, and he was eager to see her again. Although he had always been drawn to the sea, he now had a fresh motivation to savor its mysteries. Melody believed she could trust James, even though she had broken the norm of confidentiality by disclosing herself to him. James' kind heart and kind disposition drew her in, and she yearned for his company. James could see right away that Melody was unique among the mermaids as they quickly bonded. From that point on, Melody would frequently drop by the lighthouse to see James, where they would converse and delve deeper into the ocean's mysteries. James was honored that the mermaid had shared her secret with him and realized he had made a lifelong friend. Melody could trust James with the profound secrets of the water because she felt the kindness in his soul. She then asked him to follow her into the depths as she unveiled herself to him. They plunged together into the ocean's depths, heading towards the fabled Atlantean kingdom. Melody told James that her ancestors, the ocean guardians, had previously controlled Atlantis, a magnificent metropolis. All marine creatures revered and respected these mermaids, who utilized their voices to protect and guide them. Melody told tales of her forefathers and their guardianship duties as they swam through the city's ruins. She described how the fallen country used to be a commercial center where both land and marine creatures would come to exchange products. Having spent her entire life delving into the wonders of the ocean, Melody was well versed in every corner of the metropolis. James was in awe of the ruins' splendor while they were swimming. The city was full with hidden treasures, dilapidated structures, and ancient ruins. Melody told James the stories she knew about the history of each location. The magnificent palace that formerly stood in the middle of the city was explored by them. Many of the greatest guardians had called it home, and Melody sang tales of their valiant battles and heroic exploits. James was enthralled with the building and could only speculate about the palace's original appearance. They floated past the enormous libraries that had formerly been located inside the city walls together. Ancient scrolls and books that had been lost to time for ages could be found in the libraries. Melody told James the secrets she was aware of being kept there. They came upon a magnificent temple that towered over the city's periphery as they carried on their investigation. The mermaids would visit to give gratitude and offerings in honor of the great ocean goddess, in whose honor it had been erected. James was astounded by the elaborate carvings and decorations within the magnificent temple. James and Melody explored Atlantis for hours on end, discovering the mysteries of the vanished realm and its former protectors. They were aware that their underwater trip would always be a wonderful memory. With James promising to keep the secrets of the ocean a secret from the rest of the world, Melody was happy to have him live with her. Melody and James discovered ancient writings that had been concealed for millennia when they were exploring the ruins of Atlantis. Information concerning a prohibited song with the capacity to bring about both tremendous good and unfathomable evil was contained in the scrolls. The mermaids passed down the forbidden song from generation to generation, but it had been stashed away since its final performance. The contents of the scroll astounded Melody and James because they had never heard of such power. Melody didn't know whether to be thrilled or concerned about the song's enormous power. In the past, the song had been used to keep away wicked sea animals and defend Atlantis during conflicts. But the song's power also had a terrible side. If it was misused, it could cause unspeakable devastation. Melody struggled to balance her dread of the song's enormous power with her desire to use her voice for good. If she chose to use the song, James offered to walk her through every stage of the process in an attempt to reassure and console her. Melody gave the song a lot of thinking before deciding what to do. Although she was aware of its potential for harm, she also understood that, in the right hands, it might have a positive impact on the ocean and its people. She was terrified of the repercussions if something went wrong, even though she wanted to use the music for good. Ultimately, Melody concluded that the only way to find out if the music was worth the chance was to give it a try. She and James headed out to a remote part of the sea, distant from other living things. She began to hum the prohibited song, and before long, her humming developed into a lovely tune. Her voice had such incredible power that the surrounding water began to swirl and change color as a reaction to her singing. But as the water began to bubble quickly, Melody knew she had to cut the song short before it was too late. Melody came to the realization that the old song had too much power and that she needed to utilize it with extreme caution. Before attempting to utilize the prohibited song again, she wanted to realize its full power and give it the respect it deserved. James was aware that he needed to stand by Melody and help her in whatever way he could. They came to the decision to study the scrolls and find out everything they could about the forbidden song by going back to Atlantis together. They were aware that they could use the song to the ocean's benefit if they were knowledgeable and cautious. Melody and James had no idea that Seraphina, a cunning mermaid, had been watching them for a while. All the mermaids in Atlantis were envious of Melody's wonderful voice, and she envied her. Seraphina made the decision to steal Melody's voice since she knew she could never match it. She started observing Melody's every action, anticipating the ideal moment to appear. Melody was practiced singing in a quiet place one day when Seraphina smiled warmly at her. "Melody, my dear," Seraphina said. "I couldn't resist listening to you sing. Your voice really is amazing." Melody was touched by the remark. Seraphina had always been a role model for her, therefore she was grateful for her warm remarks. Melody remarked, "I've been practicing a new song. It is an off-limit song. I wonder if I should continue singing it." Melody failed to detect the malicious gleam in Seraphina's eyes as her smile grew. "Oh, that sounds interesting, Melody. Sing it for me, please." "I swear not to disclose." Melody hesitated, understanding there was a reason the music was off limits. However, she was persuaded to sing the song for Seraphina by her pleasant manner and good remarks. With jealousy and avarice, Seraphina watched as Melody started to sing. At any cost, she was going to claim Melody's voice for herself. Melody was captivated by the song's great force and felt obligated to continue singing it. Seraphina gave her encouragement, and before long Melody was enchanted by the music. Melody felt exhausted at the end of the song, like she had given something of herself away. Seeing her chance, Seraphina leaped in and took Melody's voice with her power. Melody couldn't speak or sing after being left speechless and stunned. Melody was left defenseless and alone when Seraphina floated off with a triumphant sneer. James quickly located Melody and was appalled to learn of her ordeal. As a group, they deduced that Seraphina was the one responsible for the heist. Although Melody was devastated to lose her voice, James gave her the reassurance that he would do everything within his ability to assist her in regaining it. No matter how hazardous the circumstance, he knew how to handle any crisis because to his knowledge and combat experience. They were aware they faced a difficult foe as they set out to confront Seraphina and retrieve Melody's voice. Together, though, they were sure of their skills and resolved to stop Seraphina from getting away with what she had done. Melody discovered that her old mentor had taken her voice in order to master the forbidden song herself, once she had recovered from Seraphina's betrayal and voice loss. Melody had to move fast to stop Seraphina since she understood that her intentions were not good. Melody made a bold breakaway and dashed back to James's protection, who had calculated their next move. They ambushed Seraphina together, and she was prepared for them. With their combined enormous strength and fighting prowess, all three of them were on an even playing field. With the entire force of the forbidden song released, Seraphina sent enormous waves of destruction through the water. James and Melody were hurled around, attempting to figure out how to oppose the incredible power. Melody listened intently as Seraphina belted out the prohibited song, trying to figure out how to get around it. She came to see that the song's destructive force could only be subdued by the force of compassion and love. After realizing this, Melody sung a counter-melody, a song of love and healing, drawing on her deepest feelings. Serafina's song was dominated by her strong, clear voice, which transformed it from a destructive force to one of healing and regeneration. When Serafina realized she had lost, she swam off and was never seen again. James was at her side, pleased that the experience was now done, and Melody's voice had returned to her. They made new friends with the other mermaids and explored Atlantis together for a while. Knowing that she had made a positive use of her talent, Melody maintained her humility and gratitude. She eagerly anticipated fascinating new discoveries and exciting new adventures in the ocean with James. Notwithstanding the numerous challenges and perils they faced on their journey, Melody and James had succeeded in their goals. Now that they were clear of Serafina's betrayal, it was their responsibility to ensure that peace was restored between the underwater and human realms. They put in a lot of overtime together to ensure that the water stayed pure and uncontaminated. Additionally, they made sure that human boats stayed out of the mermaids' living quarters to reduce the possibility of upsetting their environment. The locals were initially dubious of the mermaids' presence, but they eventually grew to accept them. Originally intended for fishing, the boats were now employed as a mode of transportation, enabling people to cross the enormous ocean. The water's newfound tranquility astounded the folks lining the coast. Many believed that the lighthouse's guiding light was the reason why the waters had grown calmer and more beautiful than they had ever been. Having succeeded in bringing harmony and peace to both worlds, Melody and James felt satisfied with their work. From a distance, they observed the boats go by as the people were in awe of the amazing creatures that lived below the surface. Now that everything was in order, Melody and James made the decision to move on and discover new things. They were eager to go on their next trip because they had discovered genuine friendship and camaraderie in one another. In search of the many wonders that awaited them, they set out into the big ocean together. They were aware as they swam that the lessons they had learned and the experiences they had had would never leave them. And even though Melody and James had reached their goals, they understood that their job would never be over. They would never forget the strength of love and tenacity that had enabled them to succeed, and they would carry on serving as protectors of the amazing underwater environment. Melody and James were heralded as heroes in the undersea world following their confrontation with Serafina. The ocean had been under a spell of darkness for ages, but they had managed to lift it and restore harmony and serenity. They had shown by their skill and tenacity that cooperation and loyalty to principles could defeat even the most formidable and outlawed forces. However, their triumph extended beyond the ocean floor. They had succeeded in re-establishing peace between the ocean and the human race. The disappearing marine life, the turbulent waves, and the ominous clouds that lingered over the ocean had long been regretted by the residents of the adjacent beach settlements. They were unaware of the undersea world and the song that was forbidden and endangering its tranquility. Still, they were astounded by the change when the lighthouse's guidance came back and the waves became calm once more. The sea life had returned with all its splendor, and the shorelines now held an unspoiled beauty. They believed that the change was caused by the lighthouse's guiding light, which had magically appeared on the sea. Naturally, Melody and James were aware of the reality. They were aware that this change was a result of their efforts. However, they were happy to let the public think as they pleased. Their real reward for them was the re-establishment of peace between the two worlds. They had demonstrated that the human world and the undersea realm could dwell in peace and harmony despite their differences and special gifts. With her heart full of memories from her journey, Melody gazed out to sea. She was prepared for whatever lay ahead since she was confident that she had found her genuine vocation. For his part, James was happy to have made a friend in Melody, someone he could go on all of his excursions with. They were aware that this was only the start of a friendship that would last a lifetime and that there would be much more. Melody and James could feel their hearts bursting with astonishment and companionship as they stood side by side and stared out into the ocean. They had formed strong relationships with each other after overcoming a challenging journey. When they looked back on their journey, they realized how important love and music had been to their success. The underwater kingdom had been under a spell of darkness, but music's power to charm, inspire, and uplift people was crucial in breaking the curse. They had faced their uncertainties and worries head-on and come out on top thanks to the healing power of songs and an unwavering will to succeed. Melody and James came to understand that music's genuine power lay in its capacity to cross boundaries and unite people on land and in the water. However, they also understood that their success and perseverance had been fueled by the force of love. All sorts of love had deepened their relationship, bonded them together, and inspired them to do bigger things. Melody recalled all the times she had felt hopeless and lost and how the mere fact that James was by her side had made her feel better. It was the very fabric of their friendship, based on mutual respect and encouragement, which had given them the strength to overcome their concerns. Melody and James realized that their voyage was far from ended as they stood there, encircled by the wide ocean and all of its possibilities. They were aware that there were still a lot of new places to discover, people to get to know, and experiences to enjoy. However, they had faith in their skills and knew that they would need the strength of love and music to get through whatever challenges that were ahead. Melody and James basked in the peaceful beauty of the ocean as they embraced that fact, knowing that no matter what was ahead, they faced it together, both singing the same tune of exploration, friendship, and love. Melody and James could feel exhilaration and a sense of purpose pulsing through them as they traveled on. They had brought harmony to the underwater realm by discovering the power of love and song. They were now committed to spreading that same feeling of hope and tranquility throughout the rest of the planet. Melody persisted in bringing happiness and tranquility to the water with her mesmerizing voice. Her songs were now well known around the world, and everyone who heard her sing adored her. She had come to realize that her musical talent was a resource she could utilize to encourage and uplift people around her, rather than only for herself. Conversely, James had implemented the knowledge and skills he acquired on their journey into his career as a lighthouse keeper. The ability of light to navigate ships through difficult seas had always captivated him. But now he realized that his duty as a custodian of the light extended much beyond ensuring the security of ships. Using his perch, he encouraged and uplifted the sailors passing through, reminding them that no matter how choppy the waves, there would always be a light to guide them home. Melody and James had discovered together that they were each endowed with special talents that, when together, could change the world. They were aware that they could spread love wherever they went, inspire others, and form deep connections by using their gifts. They had learned from their adventure that when they collaborated with a strong feeling of mutual respect and a common goal, there was no limit to what they could accomplish. They were excited about all of the adventures that awaited them as they traveled on. They felt a renewed feeling of confidence and excitement. They understood that they could improve everyone's quality of life and make the world a little bit more lovely with each note and each guiding light.